Oleos.
Negaim.
Start there too. Okay, Negaim. I'm just going to put that on top. Hey. Once, once the afflicted person has been confirmed tummy, a dot is ruled tummy. How so? Two people came to a Kohen, one with a Baharis the size of a grist and the other with a Baharis the size of a cellar. At the end of the week, both Baharis are larger than a cellar. They both become confirmed Tame. Even if both the Negaim revert to the size of the cellar, they both remain Tame, until they both become Tame as small as a grist. This is what they said. Once the afflicted person has been confirmed Tame, a doubt is ruled Tame. A basic Baharis is the size of a Sicilian grit squared. The area of a grit is equivalent to the 9 lentil. The area of a lentil is equivalent to the area of which 4 hairs grow. Thus, there were 36 hairs in a nega. A Baharis the size of a grist that contains a michya, the size of a lentil. If the Baharis spread, it is tame. If it's receded, it becomes tahor. If the michya expanded, the Baharis is tame. And if the michya receded, the Baharis is tahor. I made a mistake. If the mickey expanded, the Baharis is tahor. If the mickey receded,
so you have the correction in the translation.
I made it myself when I read over it. So
yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, Mishna Gimel. Baheres kagris. So once again, your Baheres is exactly the minimum size. Okay. And in the middle is some healthy skin, but it's less than an adasha. Okay, if it's less than an adasha, we don't count it. Okay, so at the moment, it's just going to be quarantined. Okay, because all we've got is a Baheres kagris. Okay, Rav Saha Baheres. Now, what happens if the Baheres grows? Okay, so that obviously that's Tame because it's Pisayon, right? That's expansion.
Right.
Okay. Nismata, if it gets smaller, Tahora. Okay, so far so good. This is all obvious. Rav Sahamichya, what happens if the Michya grows? Okay, so if the Michya grows to the point where it's now an Adasha, it's Tame. Okay, Nismata, but what happens if the Michya disappears now? Basically, so what you had was a teeny little Michya that was less than an Adasha, and then it disappeared, which means it all became white.
He uses the word receded here.
It receded, right? It receded. Rabbi Meir Matame. Rabbi Meir looks at this and says, "Look, what happened is that the Baheres expanded inwards. So therefore, it's an expansion, and therefore it's Tame." So the Chachamim disagree with Rabbi Meir. They say that's not how Pisayon works. Pisayon, by definition, is always outwards. Say Chachamim. Only Rabbi Meir says that a Pisayon can expand inwards. Okay, and therefore that just doesn't count. It stays as a quarantined nega. Mishnah Daled, Baheres Yasera Mikagris. So you've got a Baheres that is more than a Kagris. Uba Michya Yasera Mikadasha. Okay, so you've got a generously sized Baheres and a generously sized Michya in the middle. All right, that's for sure Tame. Okay. Okay, Rabu or Shinismatu. If either of them grew or they shrank, it's still Tame. Ubilvat Shelo Ismatu Mikashir. So whether they grow or expand, they're for sure Tame, unless one of them goes beneath the required shear. Okay, so Mishnah Dalet is not a particularly difficult one to understand. It's just explaining the mechanism of growth in either direction. Okay, and hey, Baheres Kagris Umichya Kadasha Makafta. So I don't know if you have the diagram, but it's like these concentric rings.
Right.
Okay. So in the middle is white. Then the next layer is michya, healthy skin, and the outside is more white. And the one on the inside is the minimum shear. It's at least a grace. Okay. So now what do we do with this? So the Kohen comes and looks at this and says, you've got two Negaim over here. One is the central nega, and one is the one on the outside. Okay, so you've got two separate Negaim because they're not connected. So what's the din? So remember, we learned this in a previous Mishnah, that the Kohen doesn't look at the two together. He looks at the one, declares it, looks at the next one, declares it. Okay, so he's going to look at the inner one and say, well, it is a kagris, but there's no siman tumah in it.
Right.
All it is a gris of Baharis. So that one I'm going to quarantine you for. Then he looks at the outer one. He says, you got a Baharis there that's much bigger than a gris, and what's more, it's got mechia inside it. That is tame, mukhlat. So he's got two negaim. One of them is a vadai, and one of them is for quarantine. Okay, so that's what the Mishnah says. Amar Rabbi Yossi, it says, Eina michya siman tuma lechitzona. He says this one actually is not going to be for mukhlat, because this michya is just separating between it and the inner baheres. So he's a das yachid over here that the outer one does not get confirmed because of the michya. He says because there's a baheres in the middle, that changes the circumstances altogether, and that's no longer considered a michya inside the outer baheres. Okay, nismata v'halchala. What happens if the middle one, if the middle I guess nismat halchala, I guess the middle one, the michya. Sorry, the michya. If the michya shrinks and disappears, so now all you've got is one big white patch. Okay.
Okay.
Ramad Gamliel says, "Im mibifnim kala." So if it happened because the inner baheris grew, okay, siman pisyon apnimis. Okay, that means that the inner one is also going to be mochlat. V'chitzona tahora, and the outer one is now tahor because the michya that was in it has disappeared. Okay, im mibachutz, if the michya disappeared from the outside, in other words, the outer baheris started encroaching on it until it closed in on the inner one. Hachitzona tahora. Then the outer one is completely tahor because the michya disappeared. But penimis lahaskir, and the inner one still must be quarantined because the inner one is still the same size. Rabbi Akiva ben kach or ben kach tahora. He says it doesn't matter which direction it moves. Both of them are tahor. Okay, what's his svara over here? He says there's no pisayon. This pisayon is not a siman tuma for it. Okay, just like if the outer one encroached on the inner one, it's not called a pisayon. Similarly, when the inner one expands into the michya, it's also not called a pisayon because the michya itself is considered part of the baheres. Okay, and the nega cannot expand into another nega. So therefore, if it's at the end of the Shavua Rishon, if it's at the end of the first week, even though the michya has completely disappeared from the inside, the inner one still remains quarantinable, just like in nega she'amad be'enav, just like a nega that stayed at the same size. So it needs to be quarantined a second time. And the outer one is tahor, since the siman tumah has disappeared from it. Once the siman tumah disappears from a nega, from a confirmed nega. Remember, we said after the first week. What happens is that we said at the beginning of this mission, the halacha is that the outer one was tameh and the inner one is for quarantine. So in either case, the guy goes to outside the camp and he has to follow all the halachas of somebody who's confirmed. But at the same time, after a week, the kohen has to come and take a look at the second nega. And when he comes and takes a look at the second nega, he's going to take a look at it and say, okay, so the second nega, the one on the inside, has not grown, and therefore it goes for another week of quarantine. Oh, but your outer one has the siman tumah has disappeared, and therefore, if the siman tumah has disappeared, therefore you can go home. Therefore, for that one, you could go home. So he just stays in quarantine. If this is all happening at the end of the second week, then he's completely patur according to Rabbi Akiva, and he can just go home.
Wow, is it confusing?
Yeah. And the halacha follows Rabbi Akiva over here that because we look at them separately. Okay, that's one of the things that we saw before, is that we treat the two as separate cases. The outer one we said is tamei. As soon as the Simon Tumah disappears from a tamei from a tamei nega, he doesn't get quarantined again. He goes through his whole purification process with the birds and the korban, and then he can go home, which of course he can't do while he's being quarantined for the second one. So it's held in suspense until he's cleared from the second one as well. So the Kohen's going to look at the outer one and say, okay, Simon Tumah is gone. That one is tahor. What about the inner one? The inner one is still there, and therefore you're going to have to go for a second week of quarantine. But if this is the end of the second week, when you say, okay, you've been 2 weeks in quarantine, I don't see any Simon Tumah on the inner one, the outer one is already tahor. Okay, go, let's go bring your birds and korban, and you're now going to be tahor.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not so easy.
No.
Okay, Gimel.
Okay. The nega on the skin is confined as tamei for as long as 2 weeks, and with three symptoms, it is confirmed tamei: white hair, living skin, or expansion. With white hair or living skin, either initially at the end of the first week and at the end of the second week, or after the nega has declared tahor. With expansion, either at the end of the first week and the end of the second week, or after the nega was declared tahor, it is confined tamei for 2 weeks, which equal 13 days. A boil or burn on stomach for no more than 1 week unless it has one of these: 2 symptoms, white hair or expansion, with white hair remaining initially at the end of the week, and after the nega that was declared tahor, the expansion was at the end of the week, or the end of the nega was declared tahor, they can be tamei for 1 week, which equals 7 days. The Nesachim are confined tamei for as long as 2 weeks, and with 2 symptoms, they are confined tamei: deficient blonde hair or expansion, with deficient blonde hair either initially at the end of the first week, at the end of the second week, at the end after the nega was declared tahor. With expansion either at the end of the first week or at the end of the second week, or after the nega was declared tahor, they can become tamei, confined tamei for 2 weeks, which equal 13 days. Okay.
Right.
On to Oliot.
Zion.
Okay. Zion. In what cases is apply? When the hive is a utensil with windows, however, it was broken and stuffed with straw, nor if the windows were covered with what was considered covered, when there is no window the size of a handbreadth and the outside piece of course is located underneath the hive, utensils directly below the hive, as deep as one can go, become tamei. If the outside piece is above the hive, utensils directly above the outside piece up to the sky can become tamei. If the outside piece is inside the hive, or the house inside the hive, or the house become tamei. If the hive is a handbreadth above the ground and there is tumah below it, in the house or inside the hive, everything becomes tamei except for what is above the hive. If the tumah is above the hive, utensils directly below the hive up to the sky become tamei. If the hive fills the entire house and there is less than a handbreadth of space between the hive and the joist,
Sorry, beg your pardon. Carry on. Yes.
The hive fills the entire house, and there is less than a handbreadth of space between the hive and the joist, and there is tumah inside the hive. The house fills it tamei, becomes tamei, and if there is tumah inside the house, everything inside the hive becomes tahor, because it is the way of tumah to exit, not the way to enter. This law applies either to the hive is standing upright or whether it's lying on its side, and whether there is one hive or there are 2. Okay.
Okay, Kalim. Babes.
Road base. If one set upon a stove and upon an oven, or upon a stone and upon a stove, or upon a stone and upon a kupa, it is tamei. If one set upon a stone and upon a second stone, or upon a stone and upon a bedrock, or upon a stone and upon a wall, it is tamei. If this was the stove of Mizerim in Yerushalayim that was built against the bedrock, the stove of butchers, when he places one stone alongside another stone, and one of them becomes tamei, the others do not become tamei. These stones are made into 2 stones. If one of the outer stones became tamei, the part of the middle stone that serves the tamei stone is tamei, and the part that serves the tahor stone is tahor. If the tahor stone is removed, the middle stone becomes entirely tummy stone was removed, the middle stone becomes entirely tahor. If the two outer stones became tummy, if the middle stone was large and one that's as much as is needed to set a pot on its side, and the remainder is tahor, but if it was small, it was entirely tummy. If the middle stone was removed, if a large portion could be set upon it, the stone was tummy. It is the stone that was returned, it is tahor. If the stone was plastered with clay, it will become substantive with the tumor from when you want to heat up enough to cook an egg on it. Two stones remain into a stone and became tummy, and one placed the stone next to one of the tummy stones on one side. If a stone next to the other tummy stone on the other side, half of one tummy stone and half on the other side, as one tummy stone is tahor, the other is tummy. Half of one tummy stone is tummy, and half of it is tahor, and half of the other tummy stone is tummy, and the other half is tahor. If the tahor stones are removed, the other return to their state of tumah. Okay.
Okay, Abos. Gimel Tesvav.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, Abos Gimel Tesvav.
You Gimel Vav, right?
Huh? Abos.
Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Yeah. Okay. Gimel, what did you have, Shaw?
Gimel Tesvav.
That's what I have. Right, okay. Everything is known. Preparation is granted, and the world is judged with goodness, and everything in accordance with the sorts abundance of deeds. He used to say everything is given with a guarantor, and a net is spread over the living. The shop is open, the merchant stands credit, the ledger is open, and the hand writes. Whoever wishes to borrow may come and borrow, and the collectors make their rounds consistently every day and collect payment from the pension person. Whether he realizes it or not, they have what to rely on. The judgment is a truthful judgment, and everyone is ready for the banquet. Reb Eliezer Azariah says, if there is no Torah, there is no conduct. There is no conduct, there's no Torah. If there's no wisdom, there's no fear of God. If there's no fear of God, there's no wisdom. If there's no understanding, there's no knowledge. If there's no knowledge, there's no understanding. If there is no flour, there is no Torah. And if there's no Torah, there is no flour. He used to say, anyone whose wisdom extends his actions to what is it likened? To a tree whose branches are numerous, but whose roots are few. And the wind comes and uproots it and turns it upside down, as it is stated. He will be like a lone tree in the desert and will not see when goodness comes. It dwells in parched lands and the wilderness and a salty, uninhabited land. Okay. But one whose actions exceed his wisdom to what is likened to a tree whose branches are few and whose roots are numerous. Even if all the winds in the world come to come and blow against it, if they could not budge it from its place, as it is stated, it will be like a tree planted near water, which spreads it out its roots along a brook and does not see when the heat comes, whose foliage is ever fresh. It will not worry in a year of drought and will not stop producing fruit. Okay. And now we are on to Yevamos. Yevamos should Gimel Aleph.
Yud Beis Vav.
Good base.
Yeah, you've done it. Yeah.
Base. So you base. The commandment of the Kalitza is performed as follows. He and the Javama come to the court and they give him advice appropriate to him, as it is said. And the elders of the city shall summon him and speak to him. Then she says, my husband, his brother, refuses to establish a name for his brother in Israel. He is not willing to take Pri and Yubu, and he says, I do not want to take her. If this is said in the holy language, then his brother's wife shall approach him in the presence of the elders, remove a shoe and from his foot and spit before him. Spittle discernible to the judges, and she shall declare, shall be done to the man who would not build his brother's house. They used to dictate only up to this point, but when Rebbe Elkanah dictated that the Ela tree was in a village in Etam and completed the entire chapter, it became established custom to complete the entire chapter, and his name shall be called in Israel, the house of the one who was removed. The commandment is a comment on the judges, not the disciples. Yuma has the commandment to comment upon all those standing there to say, the one whose shoe is removed, the one whose shoe is removed, the one whose shoe is removed. Beit Shammai says only those who are betrothed may refuse, but Bilam says both those who are betrothed and those who are not married may refuse. And Shammai says only the husband may be refused, but not the Yavam. While Beit Hillel says both the husband and the Yavam may be refused, but Shammai says refusal may be made in his parent presence. But Beit Hillel says it may be made whether in his presence or not. And Beit Shammai says only in court. But Beit Hillel says whether in court or it is out of court. And Beit Hillel said to Beit Shammai, she may refuse a minor even 4 or 5 times. Beit Shammai shall the daughters of Israel not to be treated as promiscuous. Rather, she may refuse and wait until adulthood, refuse and marry. Who is the minor wife who must refuse? Anyone whose mother or brothers gave her in marriage with her consent. If they gave her in marriage without her consent, she does not need to refuse. But continues that Antigonio said, any child who is unable to guard a betrothal object need not refuse. And Rebellion says, the minus act is void. It is as if she had been seduced. And Yisrael's daughter married to a Kohen may not eat truma, and a Kohen's daughter married to Yisrael may not eat truma. Okay. And one more. Did you dive it already?
No.
Oh, all right. So maybe doing. Okay, here we go. We have
Yes.
here. There are three countries in which regard to Judea, Jordan, and Galilee, and each is divided into.
Hold on, you go, jump to Gimel.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. And what did they say? These countries, three countries, so that they may eat each one until the last one is gone. The Shimon said they spoke of three countries only concerning Judea, but the other countries are like the king's mountain, and all the countries are as one that are as one in regard to olives and dates. One may eat on account of hefker, but not on guarded. And Yossi Prince also those guarded, one may eat on account of vetching and on account of jerufa, but not on account of aluminum or grapes. Yehuda permits that they are ripened before the end of the season, in summer. And if one preserved three vegetables in one jar, Rabbi Elias says one may eat on account of the first. Rabbi says also on account of the last. Rabbi Elias says if a species is ended in the field, that species must be eliminated from the jar, and the halakha follows them. Rabbi Shimon said all vegetables are as if one regarded to beer, and one may eat port of lahak until veggies have ended in the valley of Betim Medefoa.
Okay, and we are done. And I'm going to run. Have a
Great
wonderful
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
I'll
I'm
see
feeling
you
good.
Sunday. Thank you. Bye.